Nearly 30 years ago, Toyota started a new segment of vehicle when they introduced the first ever RAV4 in the States all the way back in 1995. The RAV4 became an instant hit as a compact unibody crossover, and it also is the company's best-selling model here in the States, with Toyota moving around 435,000 units in the States in all of 2023. Now, this current 5th generation RAV4 has been out since 2018, and I have to say, when this car first came out, it really raised the bar in terms of technology, in terms of fuel efficiency and power, and it also gave us a much more truckier styling language that really lines up closely with Toyota's truck lineup. So as you can see, this week we've managed to get our hands on the latest RAV4. This is the fully loaded hybrid limited trim. The limited sits at the very top of the hierarchy, and what that essentially means is we have a lot of Lexus-like features in this vehicle to make this thing the most luxurious and technologically advanced RAV4 ever made. So for those of you who have been looking for a new family vehicle, the big question I want answered: has Toyota managed to keep the current RAV4 fresh enough to warrant your consideration, or should you wait for the new model? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling of the latest Toyota RAV4 hybrid, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now, if you guys remember, here in the States, Toyota offers a plethora of different engine choices on the RAV4, and that's what keeps this vehicle such a sales success. However, this model here, I believe, has the sweet spot. It combines a 2.5-liter four-cylinder with up to 3 electric motors. Now, underneath this hood, surprisingly, it's not a really ugly looking engine underneath here. I like the engine cover. I also like how Toyota has kind of cleaned up a lot of the wiring, and you also have that orange cable to let everybody know that this is a hybrid. This powertrain made its debut in the RAV4 back in 2019 when this 5th generation came out. It combines their 2.5-liter gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder that's part of their Dynamic Force engine family with basically 3 electric motors. And it has 3 because there's a separate E-axle on the back, giving this vehicle electronic on-demand all-wheel drive. The gas engine on its own delivers 176 horsepower and 163 pound-feet of torque. When you combine the outputs of the electric motors, which have around 118 horsepower and 53 horsepower on its own, you get a maximum of 219 horsepower, and Toyota does not disclose the maximum torque figure, but it's a lot because, again, this has 3 electric motors. The electric motors pull their power from a 1.6 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, which Toyota did update the battery over the last few years from the older nickel-metal hydride battery pack. Fuel economy is still at the top of its game for the RAV4. This powertrain is rated at 41 in the city and 38 on the highway, about 39 mpg combined. That's a big 11 mpg improvement over the gas-only version of the RAV4. Keep in mind as well, there's also a plug-in hybrid version. It's no longer called the Prime. It's just now called the RAV4 plug-in, which has this powertrain with a much bigger battery pack, 18.5 kilowatt hours, giving you up to 302 horsepower and 41 miles of electric-only range, or 42 miles of electric-only range. This vehicle has a 14.5-gallon fuel tank, so you're looking at just over 500 miles of range on a full tank. That's on regular fuel, so incredibly fuel efficient, wonderful for road trips. That's one of the reasons why people love this vehicle so much. 0 to 60 times are just under 7 seconds. We got 6.8 in our last test. This vehicle has a top speed of just shy of 120 miles an hour. And this is actually the RAV4 that it tows a little bit more than the gas-only variant. Properly equipped, this model will tow up to 1,750 pounds, which is about 750 pounds more than a CR-V hybrid. It's one of its main rivals. And then as this vehicle sits, it's also one of the heavier models, but not as heavy as the plug-in hybrid version, weighing in at just over 3,800 pounds. But closing this hood, which as you saw is held up by a prop rod as opposed to struts like you'd find in the Lexus variant of this vehicle, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling. Now, I have to say, when Toyota first revealed this 5th generation RAV4 in 2018, I was a big fan of the design. Toyota kind of they went away with the kind of frumpier, more feminine looks, and they gave it a more truckish, almost like baby 4Runner vibe to the exterior styling. Now, you're going to find more of those truckish vibes on other trims like the TRD Off-Road or the Adventure trim. This is the more luxury-oriented limited trim. This is the trim that you want if you want all the bells and whistles in the hybrid model. You can see this particular one that I'm showing you is painted in wind chill metallic. It's a beautiful color that's $425 extra. It's paired beautifully with the updated headlights. Toyota gave the RAV4 a significant style refresh in 2022, where they replaced these headlights with these new projector style LEDs. They're a full LED, which have LED low and high beams, LED daytime running lights, LED turn signal. As you can see, the Limited also gives you these LED fog lights. If you guys go for an XSE trim, you actually don't have fog lights. Instead, you have like an LED accent light. This particular one that I'm showing you here also has the accessory fog light accent going around the actual fog light assembly. I don't particularly love the way that looks, but that's totally up to your taste for style. It is like an extra, I think, $400 if you want that. You can see the Limited also gives you a unique glossy gray finish in the actual insert. You have the blue accented Toyota hybrid badge, which is going away for their next generation of hybrid vehicles. You can see that camera is included on this trim with 360. You have these well-integrated parking sensors. On this lower fascia here, I would have preferred if Toyota would have painted this in like a glossy black or maybe even like body colored. The unpainted finish looks a little bit unfinished to me. The front splitter over there, you can see, is kind of a glossy silver metallic painted finish, which also looks nice. But moving around the side profile, you can see this vehicle is continued to be built off of the TNGA architecture. So what that essentially means is it's, you know, a very stiff platform. It's one of their newest architectures. The overall length of this vehicle is around 180.9 inches long with a 105.9 inch long wheelbase. So the RAV4 is on the smaller side compared to a lot of its rivals. You can see the Limited trim in this hybrid spec also comes with these 18-inch double 5-spoke wheels and this kind of graphite gray finish. This is essentially the same style wheel on the XSE, but with a glossy gray finish, like a dark metallic finish as opposed to the jet black finish, which I actually think these wheels look really nice. I do wish they were an inch larger. The gas-only Limited does include a 19-inch wheel, so I'm surprised to see the Toyota puts a smaller wheel on the hybrid. You have a 12.1-inch brake rotor with an 11-inch rotor at the back, all independent suspension. This vehicle has around 8.6 inches of ground clearance. You have these Dunlop Grand Trek all-season tires riding on a 225 by 60 R18 wheel. So again, the tires could be a little bit wider, but Toyota chose that all for fuel efficiency and ride comfort. You can see the wheel arch trim here is unpainted. On the XSE, you'll have it as a gloss black accent, which I actually think looks a little bit better. Going around the side, you can see there's also an unpainted side skirt there. The mirrors, as you can see, are not power folding, but they do manually fold in. You have integrated turn signals. You also have your cameras here, and then underneath here there's also a nice little puddle light that is exclusive to the Limited trim, which is a nice luxury touch. You can see the roof is a body colored arrangement. If you want a two-tone roof, Toyota will happily sell you that on the XSE. There is some chrome going along the belt line, and then this particular one that I'm showing you also has the accessory roof rails. That panoramic sunroof is part of a $500 extra charge, which is available, which is nice to find. Some competitors don't even offer a pano roof. And then backing away, looking at it from this profile here, you can see, love the boxy theme. The RAV4 also looks pretty big on the outside, even though it's one of the smaller vehicles in terms of the dimensions. Now, moving around the rear, you can see the rear hasn't really changed much over the years. It's still a really attractive looking vehicle. I like the taillight design. As you can see, it's got an LED combination with the incandescent turn signals, incandescent reverse lights, but you have an LED brake and taillight assembly. You have your typical badging here, along with a Limited hybrid badge over there. And then you can see underneath here, this model that I'm showing you belongs to a really good family friend of ours who just took delivery about a week ago. Literally has the optional tow package. The dual exhaust system with the chrome tips looks really nice. The spoiler on the back is pretty subtle. The rear wiper, as you can see, just kind of sits on the actual glass. It's not hidden underneath the rear spoiler. And then over here, you can see there's a camera. That's for the digital camera rearview mirror, which is part of an optional charge on this upper trim. The liftgate is power operated and also has a hands-free function that is exclusive to the Limited trim, where you can basically come out back here and kick your foot onto the bumper. It'll open up the liftgate for you. And then in terms of the cargo space, you don't give up anything here by going with the hybrid compared to the gas version. You still have 37.5 cubic feet of total space. You can see some of the accessories back here that our family friend got include the tonneau cover, which is nice. You have the accessory rear cargo mat, which is great. If you look underneath here, unlike some rivals, Toyota still gives you a temporary spare tire, so you don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit and whatnot. There's also a little bit of underfloor storage. If you want to fold down those second row seats, which you cannot do from back here via lever, but you can still easily kind of reach over, just kind of push that down. You can see it creates not a completely flat load floor, but Toyota says you get around 69.5 cubic feet of total storage space, which is still a pretty good amount, I have to say. If you're looking at something like the Honda CRV, the CRV does give you around 7 more cubic feet of total storage space, but this is still pretty much near the top of the class, and most people I think are going to find the cargo area to be quite useful. So on the outside, Toyota really didn't make that many changes to the exterior design since the refresh model came out in 2022, but let's go ahead and hop into the interior of the latest RAV4. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the Intelligent Access Smart Key that Toyota puts as standard on these Limited trims. Most of the higher trims like the XLE and up will come with their Intelligent Access key. As you can see, it has your usual buttons here for lock, unlock, power liftgate, and panic function. Toyota also offers their phone as a key if you have access to their connected services app. That is certainly available for you. There is remote start on the fob itself as well. If you push the lock button 3 times and hold it on the third time until the lights will flash an additional time, that's what will essentially activate the remote start for the vehicle. Now, as I approach the door handle, you can see I forgot to mention the door handle is chrome. That is unique to the limited trim. There's a little ridge area here. If you touch that, that will lock the door for you, which, as you can see, locked. The mirrors, sadly, are not power folding. Some competitors do offer that feature. Toyota still does not offer an auto walk-away lock or unlock feature. So I'm hoping that's something they will add. Their arch rival Honda offers that on the CR-V, of course. When I touch the back of the door handle, that unlocks the door for you. And then this particular one that I'm showing you has a really cool color combination. In fact, if you're looking for a beige interior like this, it's just becoming harder and harder to find. You can see this is the Nutmeg, Toyota calls it, Softex upgraded, or Softex leatherette material. So it's not upgraded, but it is a fake leather material. It certainly looks very nice. These seats are also heated and ventilated, and the driver's seat adjusts in 10 different ways. The passenger seat also adjusts in 8 different ways. So that's a really nice touch. I also want to point out that Toyota's media site says the passenger seat is a 4-way power. I can confirm that is an 8-way, so that's a typo on the Toyota actual consumer site. These seats are really comfortable and supportive. They have good bolstering. The cushioning feels good. The leather also, the fake leather also feels like real leather. So that's something to keep in mind. For long distance comfort, I love the seats on this limited trim. You can see that 2-tone Nutmeg interior carries over onto the door panels, where this upper portion here is a soft touch covered material, where it's essentially the same Softex with the contrast stitching. It's also padded right here where you'd rest your elbows. The window controls have a nice high quality feel to them. They are one touch for all 4, which is nice. The rest of the switchgear feels good. I just wish Toyota would have added power folding mirrors. There's an area here where they could have put the feature. The door handle has a silver painted plastic. You have 2-person memory. You get that, I believe, on the Limited and the XSE trims at the top end. You know, down here you can see there is a hard touch plastic area. There's additional storage, and then my test car also has the 11-speaker JBL sound, which sounds pretty good. It's not the best sounding audio system in the segment, but it's certainly an improvement over the regular audio system in the other trim levels. Now, getting inside the RAV4 with 8.1 inches of ground clearance, it has a really easy step-in height, which is one of the reasons why so many people love this vehicle. It's just easy to get in and out of. As I shut the door still has a relatively solid sounding thunk. Remember, it's built on the excellent TNGA-K architecture. Now, starting the vehicle up, you can see start-stop button is right here where you'd expect it to be. Push that button, you can see I actually haven't had a chance to show you guys a full review on the updated interior for the RAV4. Technically, Toyota has upgraded the screens, and they did it back in 2023. The last one that I tested was a Woodland edition, and it still had the half analog and digital instrument panel with the smaller 8-inch display. You can see this limited trim takes it up a notch. So what you have here is you have a fully digital 12.3-inch cluster, which is also slightly customizable. I love that. You can also change the way the gauges look. You can go from this traditional 2-dial to a more, restrained look that's a little bit less busy. There's also a 1-dial look. This also changes a little bit when you kind of go to a different drive mode. It shows you a little graphic there between eco, normal, and sport drive mode. So that's also pretty nice. It makes this car feel a lot more modern. In terms of the dash materials, you can see there's a soft touch injection molded plastic here on the upper portion. You still have soft touch area here with some faux stitching, which is pretty nice. No heads-up display. The RAV4 sadly does not offer a heads-up display. You can find that on some competitors. And then the steering wheel, you can see it's got a manual tilt, telescoping adjustment. It offers a good amount of adjustability and range. No paddles on the wheel, however. I think the XSE gives you that feature. The horn, it actually sounds a little bit puny, so don't love the way the horn sounds, but again, that's a little small, minute detail that kind of bothers me, may not bother you. You have steering wheel controls here for adjusting the way this looks here. You can kind of, again, adjust the way that looks by kind of touching these buttons here. You can also customize the way this looks. You can put different information in each of those little circular tabs in the actual instrument panel. You have your audio controller over here, your cruise control information is over here. This vehicle does come standard with Toyota's Safety Sense 2.5, which is not their latest system, which is now 3.0, but it works really well with adaptive cruise, traffic jam assist, all that stuff. You can see down here, the hybrid, this hybrid limited has the all-weather package, so you have a heated windscreen. You also have a heated steering wheel. You have your full 360 camera. When I push that button, you can see it does a full 360 perimeter scan, which that view for me isn't really helpful. What is far more helpful is when I put the vehicle into reverse, which I'll show you in just a moment. But coming back over here, let's talk about this screen. So this is standard on the Limited. It's optional on some of the other trims, really only on the higher trims. It's a 10.5-inch display. It runs their new Toyota audio multimedia interface. So we've seen this interface before in some of the other Toyota products. They added this for 2023. The 2022 refresh did not include this brand new screen with the new infotainment software. So you can see my phone is connected via the wireless Apple CarPlay. It also has wireless Android Auto. If I tap that button there, you can expand the view or compress it. It shows you the native system there, where you can go back to the native system, or you can go a full screen CarPlay. I do kind of wish that the screen was the bigger 12.3-inch display, but this is still a nice upgrade over the 9-inch display that you got in the old model. And the base screen is also an 8-inch display, so it's 2.5 inches larger. The graphics also look really good, which I appreciate. Going back to the native system, you can see it's got embedded GPS in there, which is a cloud-based GPS. You still have to have LTE signal for the GPS to actually work, although it'll download maps on the go if you have a destination chosen, so it'll still work and function even though you don't have any signal, which is kind of nice. Your audio information is over there. All the tabs are basically to the left of the screen. Going back to the phone information, going to you can also pull up an energy flow. You can go into your settings and stuff. So in terms of the learning curve, this is not horrible to actually learn how to use, but some people have complained that Toyota doesn't actually have a home screen in their vehicle, which is something that I do surprisingly find a little bit strange, how there's not a dedicated home button to go to like a home screen. But again, all of it is pretty much here. You still have a nice volume knob. A tuning knob right here would have been great, instead of having to go into the audio system here, and you'd have to kind of, pull up your sources here and pull up some, your radio. If you want to kind of tune, for example, you have to go here, and then you kind of have to like tap this button here to go to tuning and stuff. So that's a little bit of a few extra steps. But once you kind of get past that and you set up all your presets over here, it's still relatively easy, and you can also adjust them from here on the steering wheel via that button. Now down here you can see there's dual zone automatic climate control, with an eco function as well. The knobs here feel very utilitarian, but they also have a relatively high quality feel. Not quite as satisfying as the CR-V with its clickiness, but still really nice. Your stability control off switches here. The Limited is the only trim to give you heated and ventilated seats, although the RAV4 Prime XSE, or I'm sorry, the plug-in hybrid, also gives you ventilated seats at the very top end. The cooled seat function also works extremely well. It's a great feature that Toyota still offers, even only on the top trims. You can see down here, there's a USB-A charging port. You can also connect your phone there via wired connection if you don't want to use wireless. Wireless phone charging pad is there. Toyota has also updated that over the years, where it actually works a lot more reliably than before, although your phone does tend to overheat when it's placed there on a hot day especially. Down here you can see your drive mode selector. Normal, as you push it in, to the right goes into sport, to the left goes into eco. There's also an EV mode. The EV mode is intended for very low speeds, because remember, this has a very small 1.6 kilowatt hour battery pack. There's a brake hold feature. And if I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your full top-down 360 camera, which includes trajectory, distance markers, rear cross traffic alert, so it'll hit the brakes if it sees somebody coming, like a child or another car, for example, and it doesn't think you're going to stop. It also makes that little noise when you put it into reverse. That's the pedestrian detection noise, to let people know that you're moving, because it's in pure EV driving. The camera quality resolution has definitely been upgraded versus the pre-refresh model, so I really appreciate that. Down here you can see it's got silver painted plastic, hard plastic materials. It feels all very durable. Not as much storage space as you'd find in some competitors, but Toyota does give you a nice little shelf over there, which, as you can see, the Limited has kind of like a brown undertone in that shelf, which is kind of nice. The cup holders are right here. They're actually pretty decent size. Padded center console as well here. Open that up, you have two more USB charging ports there, two USB-Cs. In a pretty decently deep storage area, which is great if you want to kind of hide some things in the center console. Like I said earlier, these seats are really comfortable and supportive. The cooled function works really well. And just to prove, this seat does have the ability to kind of do an 8-way power, so that's really nice. However, there is no lumbar for this seat, so it's just no adjustable lumbar, so it's just an 8-way power. But it's nice how at least it gives you the ability to raise and lower the seats. A lot of competitors only do a 4-way power, so that's a nice selling feature. The glove compartment, you can see, is damped but not lined with felt. It is a pretty big size. It's bin style, so it offers some nice storage. You can see above me here, for the rear view mirror, it has an auto dimming or the digital camera style. That's part of an optional charge. There's a woven material for the headliner. You have LED map lighting throughout the cabin, along with some ambient lighting in here, but it's not really customizable. At night, you can see above me here, nice big panoramic glass roof. That's an extra $500. A standard sunroof is going to be standard on the Limited trim and most of the higher trims. You can open and close this shade, as you can see, if you guys don't want the sun beating down on you. You can also tilt this open by pushing that in, or you can also open it up entirely. So when you open it up entirely, you can see that's the largest that it opens. I wish it kind of opened a little bit more, but it is nice that it is actually an opening pano sunroof. Some competitors don't even give you that feature. So overall, the interior is still a really nice place to spend time. While it's not luxurious, the build quality is solid, not a single squeak and rattle in this interior, and the technology has kept up with all of its latest competitors, really. There are only a couple of features that are missing, like a heads-up display, for example, no paddles on this trim, but in terms of the screens there and there, I think Toyota has done a really great job at keeping this model feel relatively fresh. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area, and I can show you guys what that space is like. Now, opening up the door, you can see the door doesn't open quite as large as some of the competitors, but you can see the material quality here is pretty consistent. You have really nice soft tex leather on the upper portion with that contrast stitch. It's also padded right here. You have auto up-down rear windows as well. I also like this kind of grippier material there for the handle to close the door. There's also one level heated seats back here. I think that's exclusive to the limited trim. Down in this area here, you can see it's just a hard touch plastic material. Now these seats, they do obviously fold down so you can expand the cargo. It's not a completely flat floor. You can see there's also the rear seat back protectors that this model has. You can also slightly recline the seats as well. Again, it's not much, but it does offer you that ability. This seat does not slide forward and back, however, it's fixed. But once I get back here, you can see the legroom space is still very competitive. Toyota says you get around 37.9 inches of legroom back here, which is still very good. This is pretty much where I'd have the seat to drive. As a 5'7" driver, I can get back here and still cross my legs, and I find it very comfortable. The floor is not completely flat back here. There is a slight hump, but the limited trim does include these rear seat air vents, which is nice. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, so there's a total of 5 in this vehicle. No map pocket here, but you do get one over here. And then as you can see here, the armrest folds down and gives you 2 cup holders. I love the way these nutmeg seats look. The seats back here are also heated, like I said. There is no retractable shade. You do get that in the competitor like the Nissan Rogue, for example. And then in terms of the headroom space, you can see for somebody my height, I have a decent amount of headroom still, maybe like 2-ish inches, even though the sunroof does take up a little bit of space. So overall, for the next gen RAV, I would expect Toyota to hopefully add a little bit more rear seat legroom. But again, if you don't need the extra space that some rivals give you, this is still a very comfortable and nice place to spend time. So here we are back behind the wheel of the latest Toyota RAV4 hybrid. Now, I am very familiar with this vehicle because I've had a chance to drive pretty much every model year ever since this 5th generation came out back in 2018. Now, this particular one that I'm driving is actually not a press car, as you guys probably noticed from the walk around. This actually belongs to a very good family friend of mine, and she actually just took delivery about a week and a half ago, and the car has 161 miles on it. So we're not going to do a 0 to 60 test this time. I've tested this model multiple times, and we know it'll get to 60 in 6.8 seconds. Toyota made no changes to the hybrid powertrain this year, so it's still making 219 horsepower, hooked up to a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder with 3 electric motors. All-wheel drive is still going to be standard. We'll just do a quick little acceleration run here, but not full throttle. We'll just kind of give it half throttle. We have it in its sports setting right now. And the one thing about Toyota hybrid powertrains is the effortless and responsive feel that you get. You unfortunately do get a little bit of engine noise that comes in, and that's because it is a CVT. It's an electronic CVT, technically. Excuse me. And you also have that 2.5-liter 4-cylinder delivering around 176 horsepower on its own. The 3 electric motors, there's basically 2 at the front and then 1 at the rear, giving you additional motor for all-wheel drive. It all makes for a very seamless drive. In fact, if you guys have never driven a hybrid powertrain before, the Toyota system is still one of the best. I mean, even though the new Camry technically has an updated version, I believe the 5th generation version of Toyota's hybrid powertrain, this RAV4 in the 4th generation still works extremely well. The handoff, the transition between electricity and gas is seamless. It's instantaneous. I mean, right now we've got a 1.6 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's very, very small. The gas engine primarily provides most of the propulsion. Whenever I put my foot down, this eCVT will quickly adjust its ratio and get you into the meat of the power band. And what you feel is just a nice rush of power. Toyota could do a little bit better with isolating the noise. The gas engine does make a little bit more noise than I would like it to. If you want a little bit of a quieter feel, the Lexus NX 350h, basically this car's luxury cousin, is a little bit quieter because Lexus puts a little bit more sound deadening, but this is not bad. I mean, this limited trim that we're driving also has a little bit more in terms of sound deadening materials. The ride quality in the RAV is still among the best. This vehicle has a smooth and compliant ride. It's built on Toyota's TNGA-K architecture. It also feels really stiff and solid, but at the same time, it also feels relatively sporty. I'm actually really surprised. So the steering in this car has some good heft to it, not much in terms of road feel coming through the steering wheel itself. And also the suspension is incredibly soft, so you can feel the vehicle wallow around when you're, trying to do emergency maneuvers. However, when you're just driving the vehicle normally, just cruising, you have a nice commanding view of the road. The chassis feels nice and stiff. It feels really solid. There's not a single squeak and rattle in this car. This particular one, the hybrids are still built in Japan, surprisingly. I thought these were built in Indiana or Canada, but this one is built in Japan. And you just get the feeling that you're driving something that's going to last for a very long time. And that's one of the key successes about Toyota RAV4s is people love these cars because they are so ridiculously practical. They're easy to drive. They're comfortable. These seats, the Softex leather in this nutmeg color is just really cushy and supportive. Even though this is a fake leather material, it also feels almost like real leather, and the amount of bolstering and the padding is also really good. The cooled seat feels nice. You can see this thing has enough torque, even though Toyota doesn't talk about what the torque figure is with the combined output. It makes like 163 pound-feet from just the gas engine, but the electric motors, guys, there's 3 of them, make a ton of torque, and they all happen pretty much instantaneously. So that's why, even though this vehicle is all-wheel drive, when you put your foot down, the front wheels will actually slip a little bit because most of the power is going to the front. The back axle, I think, only has like an extra 53-ish horsepower coming from just that rear electric motor. So that's precisely why something like the Honda CR-V's all-wheel drive system is a little bit more reactive. Same thing with the Hyundai and Kia hybrid vehicles, because there's a mechanical connection going from the engine going to that rear axle. Toyota doesn't do that. Instead, they save cost and complexity by making it just a separate rear axle. So there's a give and take, obviously. I really like how this powertrain still feels. Even though Toyota is about to replace the RAV4, it still accelerates really smoothly. It's got a wonderful, transition point between gas and electric. When you drive really economically, the gas engine will shut off and the vehicle has the ability to cruise along at electric power alone at low speeds, at light throttle applications. And this interior, aside from the engine getting a little noisy when you're pushing it, is really quiet. There's not very much road noise that comes through. There is a little bit of wind noise from these tires, or I'm sorry, not from the tires, from the roof rails that this model has. But other than that, it's just a really, really comfortable car to drive out of or drive in. You can see out of the vehicle really well. The dash is a little bit higher than some of the competitors, but I have a great view out of the front. These pillars are on the thinner side. The view out of the sides is good. The view out of the back is also good. And this model here has the optional digital camera rearview mirror, which is a fantastic option if you guys constantly carry a lot of tall friends, or you pack up the rear of the vehicle with stuff to the ceiling that would block your view. That instantly fixes that. This model is also equipped with Toyota's Safety Sense 2.5, so it's not their newest 3.0. It does have lane keep assist, traffic jam assist, adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, all that stuff, and it all makes for a really easy drive. So it's pretty easy to see why so many people end up choosing a RAV4. I mean, this is the best-selling non-pickup truck in America, and it just works for a lot of people, from the comfort, the quietness, to the fuel efficiency, to the power. This thing has enough power for most situations. And speaking of that fuel efficiency, this car only has 165 miles on it, so obviously the fuel economy will improve. But just in the last week that our family friend has had this car, it's been averaging 37.6 mpg. Now, my parents have a 2022 RAV4 Hybrid XSE that they've put almost 40,000 miles on, and they averaged 42 mpg. So that's a little bit above what the EPA says. Remember, this is rated at 41 in the city, 38 on the highway, 39 combined. Range is over 500 miles. So excellent road trip vehicle, really cheap to fill up. It's got a 14-gallon fuel tank on regular gas. This thing, even though gas prices can be high, it's a really easy car to live with. It's not expensive to fill it up, to maintain this car. So that's one of the reasons why the RAV4 is such a success. Now, in terms of the next generation that's coming out, we should be seeing that about a year from now. I'm thinking it'll probably be revealed and we'll have it going on sale as a 2026 model. There's rumors that Toyota will go all hybrid for the next gen RAV4, and it should be an evolutionary redesign compared to this model, because this is still really good. Just like the Toyota Camry was really good, Toyota's redesign was evolutionary and they made it hybrid only. I would anticipate it's going to get the same 232 horsepower motor from the Camry, which honestly, this 219 is still plenty. Fuel efficiency will probably either stay the same or it may go up a little bit. But overall, even though the RAV4 is in its last model years, it's getting ready for a replacement, this is still one of the best ones out there. And it really shows just how over-engineered and how ahead of the time Toyota was when they introduced this all-new fit generation about 5 years ago. So even though the latest generation RAV4 has been on the market for about 5 years now, I have to say the current generation has aged extremely well. Toyota has made some nice key updates to this vehicle over the years to keep the model fresh. And even though it may not be the flashiest or most powerful or more sportiest version to drive, if you're looking for a compact family SUV, there are a lot of things about this vehicle that are just extremely well-rounded. It's no wonder that Toyota manages to sell around 435,000 of these last year. It is literally the best-selling passenger vehicle in the United States that isn't a pickup truck. Really, the only thing that kind of gets close to this is the Tesla Model Y. Tesla did around 385,000 units in the same time frame. And then the Honda CR-V, the company did around 370,000 CR-Vs. So again, CR-V is number 2, but there's a reason why the RAV4 is one of the best. And after spending some time driving the latest 2025 model, I have to say, I still really love this car. It's kind of an easy recommendation to go with if you guys are looking for a compact SUV for your family that can essentially do everything, and that's also going to last a very long time and get stellar fuel efficiency. As you guys saw, the powertrain is still one of the best you're gonna find. Really smooth power delivery, quick acceleration, excellent fuel efficiency. The handling, even though this is the limited trim, is surprisingly agile. It's not the sportiest handling vehicle, but it's competent. It's comfortable, it's easy to drive, the seats are also comfortable. The new technology in this vehicle, the larger 10.5-inch display with Toyota's audio multimedia interface, the all-digital 12.3-inch cluster, which is also slightly customizable, also makes this car feel a lot more modern. And it also has better tech versus some rivals, which is shocking to me because, again, Toyota is ready to come out with a new model. Now, in terms of the backseat space, it is a little bit smaller than its rivals, giving up legroom by about 3 to 4 inches compared to some competitors. Cargo area is pretty competitive as well. But really, the RAV4 is such a well-rounded car that it really is an easy recommendation. And then when you look at the pricing of this vehicle, it also is pretty easy to recommend because the base RAV4 with the gas engine and the LE and front-wheel drive starts at around $28,000. If you guys want a hybrid version, it'll start at just over $31,000. So Toyota technically charges around $2,500 or $3,000 to go from gas to a hybrid model. Now that delta gets a little bit smaller as you go kind of up the trim ladder. Now most of you are probably going to go to an XLE hybrid trim, which is around $3,000 more at around $34,000. The XLE Premium is going to basically give you some of the touches like the soft tech seats with the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, the power liftgate. The bigger display is also available at that point. The XSE and SE is also available in the hybrid as well. You can't get those sport-oriented RAVs in the gas-only versions. The SE RAV could be the sweet spot with a starting price of around $33,000. It gives you the sportier look. The XSE is around $37,000, basically combining some of the luxury touches from the limited trim into the sport look. Now this limited starts at just over $40,000, and that's kind of where the RAV4 does get expensive at the top end, because when you start adding things like the advanced technology package, the weather package, of course, the panoramic sunroof, the upcharge for the color, and destination charge. This model here also has a ton of accessories on it, which I think is also a good thing if you plan to keep this vehicle for a long time. With destination and everything added, this model here comes to around $45,900. So nearly 46 grand is certainly expensive. I remember there was a time where you could look at a fully loaded RAV4, probably back in 2019 when this first came out, and it was just under $40,000 for a top end. Now, of course, if you skip some of the accessories this car has, the MSRP is really $44,390, which again is a couple thousand more expensive versus something like a Mazda CX-5 or a Honda CR-V. A Hyundai Tucson and a Kia Sportage is also a little bit less expensive. However, I would argue that the Toyota gives you the best gas mileage. It gives you really good acceleration, so great effortless power. It also has that reputation for reliability and longevity, and it also is a really easy car to live with, So my recommendation, choose the trim level that works best for you. Remember, Toyota offers a choice of 13 different trims, so there's a RAV4 for basically everybody. But if you're essentially ready to get the top version of the RAV, while you do have to pay a little bit more versus some of its rivals, I'd argue that it's definitely worth that extra charge. And I'd also say if you guys are curious to wait for the next generation model, I have a feeling the next gen model will go completely hybrid, but it'll likely be an evolutionary change, just like Toyota did with the new Camry into 2025. I'd say this model is still worth a look today, but of course, if you're interested in waiting, we should probably be expecting to see the 2026 RAV4 show up about a year from now. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid Limited. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.